When you're an option, they flutter, come and go like wind on willow. But when you are the one, the soul sits still. Doors open, presence deepens, not for gain, but for reverence. Be not the echo they visit, be the home they honor. Know your worth, then walk like you do. Energy speaks louder than words. It vibrates before the tongue can form a sentence, before fingers send a message, before feet cross your doorstep. It enters the room with them, even when they say nothing at all. You feel it, not in your ears, but in your chest, in the stillness between your thoughts. Energy carries intention. It tells the truth when words are dressed in velvet lies. It holds the weight of what is not said, and that is where you find clarity. A man may say he misses you, but if his presence is erratic, if his time is a maybe, if you always feel like you're asking for a seat at a table you helped build, then his words are just wind. Because when someone values you, their energy wraps around you like a steady flame, not scorching, not fleeting, but warm, constant, alive. It doesn't ask to be chased or beg to stay. It chooses you again and again without needing applause. There is something holy in the way energy shows up. It doesn't forget, it doesn't get too busy, it doesn't make you feel like you're hard to love. Energy has memory. It knows your worth, even when silence tries to confuse you. That's why someone who truly holds space for you doesn't leave you questioning. Their consistency, their presence, their emotional honesty, that is the real conversation. Too many people listen to noise and ignore vibration. They hear the sweet nothings and miss the cold absence. They read long messages, but overlook how drained they feel afterward. Because when the energy is off, nothing spoken can make it right. A man can call you beautiful 1,000 times, but if you constantly feel like you're auditioning for a role in his life, your soul will know something is wrong. When his actions speak comfort, but his energy feels chaos, that contradiction is not affection. It's confusion dressed as connection. Real connection has peace in it, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest. When you're around someone whose energy aligns with you, your nervous system relaxes. You don't feel like you're being tested. You don't wonder if you're enough. That kind of energy doesn't pretend. It doesn't perform. It's not playing the long game for short-term wins. It shows up with both hands open, offering time, care, and truth. Energy, unlike words, cannot be faked for long. Masks slip, scripts run dry. But energy, it always reveals what the mouth can't hide. Even in silence, even in distance, even in the spaces where love used to live, the energy remains. It tells you who is for you. It tells you when someone is using you as a placeholder for their loneliness. It tells you when you're being chosen out of convenience, not commitment. We must learn to trust what we feel, not just what we hear. The soul hears energy before the ears catch words. That is why betrayal hurts even before it's confessed. That is why you sometimes cry without a clear reason. Your spirit has already received the message your mind is trying to ignore. So listen, not to the words alone. Listen to the rhythm of how they show up. Listen to the space between the texts, the tone beneath the compliments, the pattern behind the attention. Does it lift you? Does it ground you? Does it leave you feeling seen or small? These are the questions energy answers, boldly, consistently, without apology. And when you recognize a mismatch in energy, do not shrink. Do not try to mold yourself to fit what cannot hold you. You are not meant to beg for resonance. You are not an echo waiting to be heard. You are a vibration, full and divine, calling for truth in motion. When their energy can't match yours, that's not rejection, that's redirection. That's your soul preserving its frequency. Because love, real love, is more than words. It is energy, quiet, powerful, unmistakable. When it's right, you won't have to wonder. When it's mutual, you won't have to force. When it's true, it won't just be said. It will be felt. Consistency reflects priority, not in the grand gestures that dazzle for a moment, but in the quiet, repeated ways someone shows up for you without being asked. It is not about how loud they love you one day, but how steadily they honor you every day. The truth of how someone values you is written in their patterns, not their promises. Anyone can make you feel special for an hour, a day, a weekend. That's easy. Excitement is effortless in the beginning, when curiosity dances through conversation and affection is new and sweet. But when the spark fades and real life settles in, when convenience gives way to choice, that's where consistency becomes the clearest mirror of where you stand in their life. When someone makes you a priority, you don't feel like an afterthought. You don't feel like you're fighting for their attention because they give it freely. You don't have to wonder if they care because their actions tell you long before their words catch up. It's in the text that says, "Did you eat today?" without a reason. It's in the call that comes not out of guilt, but out of care. It's in remembering the things you never had to repeat. In the ordinary, their consistency becomes extraordinary. And when someone doesn't prioritize you, their inconsistency will do all the talking. You'll see it in their hot and cold behavior. You'll feel it in their absence after vulnerability. You'll taste it in conversations that go shallow just when you try to go deep. And still, they'll offer excuses, work, stress, I'm not good at communicating. But the truth is simple. When people care, they make room. Not perfect room, not every single time, but enough that you feel safe, enough that you feel chosen. There is a difference between being busy and being unavailable. The world is full of people with packed schedules who still find time to check in, to reach out, to remind you that you matter. When you are a priority, you're not placed in the margins of their life. You're written into the main text, and not just when it's convenient or when they need something, but when it counts most. When it's quiet, when no one is watching, when it would be easier not to. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not roses every day or declarations under the stars. It's answering the message when you're tired. It's remembering the details someone mentioned weeks ago. It's choosing them in the middle of chaos. It's being steady when life is not. That's what makes it rare. That's what makes it real. Some people will breadcrumb you with just enough attention to keep you nearby, but never enough to make you feel secure. They will show up like lightning, bright and fleeting, but leave you in darkness when you need warmth. You'll find yourself wondering if you're too demanding, too emotional, too much, when really you're just asking to be treated with the same care you give. You deserve someone whose consistency doesn't feel like a favor, but a rhythm. Someone who doesn't make you chase clarity. Someone who doesn't forget your worth in the middle of their confusion. Someone who keeps showing up, not just when things are easy, but especially when they're not. The beauty of consistency is that it builds trust. Not because the person is flawless, but because you begin to believe in their presence. You begin to rest in the knowing that you don't have to carry the whole relationship on your back. You stop bracing for disappointment because they've shown you that they can be counted on. And in a world where so much is temporary, that kind of presence is sacred. Consistency is love in action. It's how someone proves that their intentions are more than passing feelings. It's how they say, without saying, "You are important to me. You matter. I will not let you wonder where you stand." Because when someone truly values you, they will move through the noise of their life to meet you in yours. Not once, not when it's easy, but again and again and again. Presence without pressure is a rare kind of grace. It's the art of showing up with full heart without expecting anything in return. It's not loud. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase validation or seek control. It simply exists, steady and open, allowing space to breathe, to be, to become. It whispers, "I'm here," without ever needing to say it. True presence doesn't push or pull. It doesn't wrap itself in anxiety or urgency. It does not confuse love with possession. It understands that closeness is not created by proximity alone, but by comfort, by safety, by the unspoken understanding that you are free to be exactly who you are. When someone gives you presence without pressure, they are not trying to rush your healing, your choices, your pace. They are not trying to mold you into their version of love. Instead, they offer you stillness. They let you unfold on your own terms. In this world of constant noise, where attention is short and expectations run high, this kind of presence feels like a balm. It's not about always being physically nearby. It's not about long conversations every day or needing constant affirmation. It's about depth. It's about someone making you feel held, even in silence. They don't leave you questioning their intentions. They don't make you feel like love is a performance you have to earn. Their energy says, "I see you. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to hurry you. I'm just here." When someone is present without pressure, you can exhale. Your nervous system relaxes. You don't feel like you're being evaluated or tested. You don't feel like you have to earn your worth in their life. You don't walk on eggshells, measuring your words, wondering if you're too much or not enough. You just exist, and that is enough for them. This kind of presence is powerful because it is rooted in peace, not fear. It's not about trying to hold you tight so you won't leave. It's about trusting that if you stay, it's because you want to, not because you were manipulated or guilted into it. Presence without pressure honors choice. It honors freedom. It believes in connection that grows from authenticity, not control. There are many who will say they love you, but only a few will know how to love you gently. Only a few will understand that showing up doesn't mean overshadowing, that love isn't loud possession, it's quiet devotion, that closeness doesn't mean invasion, it means invitation. You can always tell when someone's presence is sincere. It doesn't leave you drained. It doesn't leave you second guessing. It doesn't flood your mind with doubt. It just sits beside your spirit, quietly reminding you that you are not alone. And sometimes presence is found in the smallest moments. A message that simply says, "I thought of you." A pause in conversation where silence is allowed to breathe. A visit with no agenda. A hand reached out not to pull you, but to walk with you. These gestures don't seem grand on the surface, but they are deep with meaning. Because they say, "I care about how you feel. I care about your pace. I'm not here to rush your process. I'm just grateful to be near it." Presence without pressure teaches you that you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fight for your place in someone's life when they truly value you. You don't need to perform softness or strength. You can just be. And that's where real love lives, in the space where you're allowed to exist without performance. When someone shows up with that kind of presence, they are saying, "Your timing is sacred to me. Your truth is safe with me. I do not need you to be perfect. I just want you to be you." That is a kind of love that nurtures growth, that allows trust to build naturally, that holds space without suffocating. It is easy to find people who want to possess you, but rare to find someone who simply wants to witness you, someone who knows that real intimacy is born from respect, not pressure. Someone who believes that the strongest love is the one that lets you feel free within it. Someone who stands beside you without needing to lead or push, just steady, just present, just there. Depth over performance is the difference between being seen and being impressed. It is the difference between someone who loves your soul and someone who loves the version of you they created in their mind. Performance seeks applause, but depth seeks understanding. Performance is loud, curated, and often fleeting. Depth is quiet, enduring, and rooted in truth. One needs the spotlight, the other shines without it. Too often, people fall in love with a reflection, not a person. They're drawn to how you look, how you speak, how you smile in the right light, or comfort them in the right moments. They love the image, the highlight reel, the sparkle. But when life gets real, when shadows rise and masks fall, they grow distant. Not because you changed, but because their love was built on the surface. Depth doesn't care for that surface. It's not concerned with how well you perform, how perfectly you say the right thing, or how seamless you present your life. Depth wants to know what keeps you up at night. It wants to know what softens you, what scares you, what parts of yourself you've learned to hide because the world told you they were too heavy. It wants to sit with your silence and be a witness to your becoming. In a world full of curated selves, choosing depth is radical. We've been conditioned to perform, to appear chill, desirable, unaffected, to smile through discomfort, to make ourselves small so we're easier to love. We've learned to turn our pain into poetry, our heartbreak into humor, our longing into silence. But real love, real connection asks for none of that. It doesn't want your performance. It wants your presence. When someone chooses you for depth, they aren't chasing perfection. They aren't waiting for the best version of you. They want the now version, the raw, flawed, breathing version, the you that stumbles through words when emotions rise, the you that gets quiet when you're overwhelmed, the you that doesn't always know what to say but feels everything deeply. That is where the real connection begins, not in how well you play your part, but in how freely you allow yourself to just be. Performance thrives on outcomes, likes, attention, validation. It seeks to prove, to win, to be chosen. Depth does not chase. It stays. It listens. It notices the way your voice changes when you speak about your childhood. It sees the way your eyes light up when you talk about what you love. It doesn't want to win you. It wants to understand you. When you are with someone who values depth over performance, you'll feel it in the way they ask questions that invite you inward. They won't rush your answers. They won't interrupt your silence. They'll create space for your truth, even if it's messy or incomplete. You won't feel like you need to hide the parts of you that are still healing. They won't walk away when your strength falters. Instead, they'll meet you there with patience, not judgment. Depth is rare because it requires presence. It requires effort. It means showing up even when there's no immediate reward. It means sitting in discomfort instead of avoiding it. It means being curious, not just captivated. And not everyone is willing to go there. Some people only want the glow, not the fire that fuels it. But those who choose depth over performance, they're the ones who stay. They're the ones who remember the things you said in passing. They're the ones who don't flinch when your shadows appear. They're the ones who love you, not just in your light, but in your layers. They know love is not a show, it's a sanctuary. You don't need to impress the ones meant for you. You don't need to dress up your wounds or disguise your dreams. You don't need to shrink your silence into something palatable. You are not a role to be played. You are a story to be read slowly, gently, over time. Let them read you as you are. Let them meet the soul beneath the surface. The one who doesn't want the stage, only the safety of being fully seen. Silence speaks truth in ways words never can. It does not stumble, it does not mask, it does not perform, it simply reveals. It tells you who's still standing with you when the applause fades. It shows you who listens, not just with their ears, but with their presence. It becomes the echo of what someone feels, but won't say. And in that echo, truth lives untouched. In the moments when communication stops, when calls go unanswered and messages are ignored, there is a message still being delivered. Absence is a sentence. Delay is an answer. Indifference is a kind of punctuation. We tend to search for reasons, for clarity, for something to explain the silence. But most of the time, silence is the clarity. When someone withdraws, when they stop showing up, when they pull away without explanation, their silence is their decision manifest. Their silence says, "You are not my priority." Their silence says, "I have chosen distance." You don't need them to say it aloud. Their silence already has. Silence isn't always absence, though. Sometimes it is deep presence, the kind that holds space instead of rushing to fill it, the kind that listens not to reply but to understand, the kind that sees your pain and doesn't interrupt it with advice or noise. Silence, when used with care, becomes a sanctuary. It becomes the canvas on which truth paints itself. There is wisdom in sitting still with someone without trying to fix them. There is love in saying nothing but staying. But silence can also wound. It can become the language of avoidance, of emotional cowardice. People often use silence to escape accountability, to maintain control, to punish. When someone knows they've hurt you and chooses silence, they are not being gentle, they are being passive. That silence can burn hotter than any argument, because at least words, even sharp ones, acknowledge existence. Silence erases. It makes you question your worth, your memory, your meaning in their life. Still, no matter how it's delivered, silence always reveals something. Sometimes it exposes someone's lack of interest. Sometimes it uncovers their fear. Sometimes it shows you exactly what they were too afraid to admit with words. And often when someone goes silent, they expect you to break first, to reach out, to explain their behavior for them, to carry the weight of what they refuse to express. But your growth will come from honoring their silence as their truth, not as your responsibility. Not every silence is a punishment. Some silences are sacred. Sometimes you outgrow the noise. Sometimes peace looks like walking away without slamming doors. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. You stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing. You stop filling in the blanks. You let them wonder. You let the silence speak. And silence does speak always. Even in relationships where words are plenty, silence still has its voice. It's the quiet after an argument when no one moves toward healing. It's the space in a conversation where something important should be said, but isn't. It's the moment you realize they're listening, but not hearing. It's when you laugh, but feel empty. These silences speak volumes, and we are wise to listen. Your body knows how to read silence. Your intuition feels what words try to cover. There's a moment when someone pauses just a little too long before responding, and you know. There's a lack of eye contact, a delay in touch, a growing distance in tone, and you know. Your soul knows the truth before your mind accepts it. And often the truth is simple. If they wanted to be close, they would. If they valued your presence, you wouldn't feel the absence so deeply. Silence can be peace or punishment, presence or absence, healing or harm. What matters most is how it makes you feel. If the silence between you and another brings you clarity, calm, and connection, honor it. If it brings confusion, fear, and constant questioning, hear it for what it is. Don't beg for words when their silence has already delivered the answer. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is fall silent yourself, to stop explaining, to stop chasing, to stop narrating your worth to those who went quiet when you needed them most. Not every silence needs to be broken. Some are meant to be honored. Others are meant to be walked away from. But all silence, if you're listening, speaks. You are not a backup plan. You are not someone to be kept on the shelf until the world stops spinning, until their heart figures itself out, or until they've exhausted every other option. You are not a placeholder for love they aren't ready to give, nor a safety net for a person afraid of being alone. You were not born to be second choice. You are not the maybe to someone else's definitely. Being treated like a backup plan doesn't always come with blunt rejection. Sometimes it's masked as not now, let's just see, or I'm not ready. They'll keep you close enough to benefit from your presence, your loyalty, your softness, yet far enough to never fully commit. You'll feel it in their inconsistency. You'll see it in how they show up only when it suits them. You'll sense it in the way you're always waiting for time, for effort, for clarity. They might not say it out loud, but their actions scream it. You're an option, not the choice. This is not because of your lack. It's not because you're too much or not enough. It's because some people treat others like spare parts to keep nearby for when their plans fall apart. And you, bright, giving, worthy, are not meant to live your life in emotional limbo, waiting for someone to finally decide that you're worth the whole table instead of just the crumbs. You deserve to be chosen in the daylight, not hidden in the shadows of uncertainty. You deserve to be pursued with clarity, not confusion, to be loved in full, not in fragments. There's a quiet ache that comes from being treated like a backup plan. It steals your peace. It makes you second guess your value. You find yourself shrinking, adjusting, trying to be more convenient, hoping that if you love them enough, if you're patient enough, they'll finally see you as worthy of more. But you are already enough. Their failure to choose you doesn't reflect your worth. It reflects their capacity. The danger of being treated like a backup is that it conditions you to settle for partial love. It teaches you to stay even when you're not being fed emotionally. It trains you to believe that almost is better than nothing, that someday might be worth the wait. But almost love is not love. Love that keeps you waiting in confusion is not love. Affection that disappears when they're no longer lonely is not love. You must unlearn the belief that staying in that space will someday earn you the love you're looking for. Because real love doesn't treat you like a convenience. It doesn't put you on hold while it explores other avenues. It doesn't come back only when it's bored, tired, or lonely. Real love chooses you when it's hard. Real love shows up without being begged. Real love is not afraid to name you, claim you, and move in your direction with purpose. It is not your job to convince someone of your value. It is not your responsibility to wait around for someone to realize what they had. You are not a lesson. You are not the healing ground for someone to find themselves. You are not a bridge to someone else's clarity. You are not the person someone gets right with after they've done everything wrong. You are not the one they call when the fantasy fails and reality needs a soft place to land. You are the main character of your story, not a supporting role in someone else's indecision. You don't need to earn a place in someone's life by proving your worth through patience, pain, or quiet suffering. You don't need to tolerate confusion disguised as love. You don't need to stay in places where you are remembered only when it's convenient. You deserve to be remembered daily, desired deeply, treated deliberately. And if someone only chooses you when their other plans fall through, let them go. If they only come close when loneliness creeps in, let them drift. If they're waiting until they're ready, remind yourself that you've always been ready, for real, for whole, for now. You are not here to be the second call. You are not here to fill the silence. You are not here to be their comfort while they chase chaos. You are the plan, the real thing, the beginning, not the backup. So walk away from anything that makes you feel otherwise. When you are rooted in your worth, everything changes. You stop settling for empty gestures and start recognizing the quiet truths that have always been there, felt in energy, revealed through consistency, held in presence, shown through depth, and echoed in silence. You begin to understand that real love does not confuse you, delay you, or treat you like a second thought. It honors you without asking you to prove yourself. It shows up, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. You are not here to be an option, a convenience, or a pause between someone else's plans. You are the whole story, not a sentence in someone's indecision. You are not here to beg, chase, or wait. You are here to be met, fully, freely, and without hesitation. Because once you believe you are enough, you will never again entertain anything or anyone that makes you feel like you're not.